Hey everyone, Jeff and I want to share a tool with you that we know you're going to love if you haven't heard about it already. It's a JAMF Teacher App. And this app allows you to control the iPads that come into your classroom and control them anywhere from what apps the kids see to what websites that they can go to. And this can happen whenever your students walk in. Let's get started.
So everyone should have an app that looks like this, called JAMF Teacher. It should just say Teacher at the bottom of the app. When we open it, you should see all of your classes. Now, I don't have any classes assigned to me except this fake class that I made up. But over on the left-hand side, let's go through all the things you have available. First, your classes will be in here, and if you tap on them, they'll open up and you'll see all your students. Lessons we'll get to in just a second, but let's look at my resources. So let's say there's some apps that you want to use for your classroom. Here are all the basic apps that we have available that you can add to your iPad. All the updates for your apps, and then some help guides for the JAMF Teacher app. These are great and real quick and easy to read through. But let's go back to classes. So we're imagining that a class has walked in, and I have Jeff's iPad here with me. And so in my class, I just want to use the iPads. Now I can do all of these things to the iPads that are sitting in my room. So for all the students, I can also do anything here to individual students. So let's start with allowed apps. Now if I tap on this, I can now say that there are only a few apps that I want the kids to use during my class today. And so I can say files, and then I'll also say GarageBand. And when I apply that, you'll see over on the other iPad that those will be the only apps that show up. So you will just see GarageBand and the Files app. Now, I don't want that to stay, so I'm going to clear restrictions. Now, this is an important point. Because this is not Bluetooth, instead it's by our wireless, anytime you put restrictions on your students' iPads, if they walk out of your classroom, those restrictions stay until you release or clear those restrictions. So you have to remember to clear all restrictions before your kids leave. Let's move over quickly to the attention button. When I click this, again, it'll say, how long do I want it to last? But we can clear it at any time. I put the message of hello, and I hit apply. And then over on Jeff's iPad, he'll get that notification. So imagine this being something like that you want kids to focus while you're walking around the room with your iPad. You want them to focus in on something, and so you hit the attention app and just send a quick message. If we go to restrictions, so the kids are coming into your class and you want them to work on something immediately, but you want to make sure that they don't have some things or do have some things, I can say, well, they can't go to any site, but they can listen to Pandora during today's class. But I don't want them to have access to the camera, and spell check for today's assignment. I definitely want them to be able to airdrop some files between each other and get into Safari, and then when I hit apply, all of those restrictions will take place. I'm just going to cancel that. And then finally, I can have quick text conversations with kids through this. I can either allow replies or not allow replies here. And then I can type in a message that will go to an individual or everybody's iPad. So that's a quick overview of what we can do. So not only can we do that to all students, do each of these things to all students, but we can pick individual students and it will just go on their devices. In our last piece, let's talk about lessons. These are great if you are building a lesson that has specific websites that you want them to go to, if you have only specific apps that you want them to use. So here we are, we create a lesson, and when we create a lesson, you have lots of things to go through. It doesn't take any time though, so I'll just quickly type a name. Now we can go right to what apps do we want to allow. So when I start this lesson with one of my classes, I can again choose books and the camera. Good. Then let's say that I want just only a few links for them to go to. And notice how I can also lock them into these sites. So when I have lesson links, they can only go to those websites. Let's turn off some of these so they're not able to get into things like Pandora. And then finally, what do we want them to use? So we want them here. They obviously have to get into Safari. They don't really have access to these things, but we'll turn them off anyways. I do want them to be able to make screenshots. I do want them to use autocorrect, and I definitely want them to be able to airdrop. But again, there's no reason for us to have to turn this off, turn something like off for the whole school when we can shut it down in our individual classrooms as soon as kids walk into the room. I'm going to save, and then I'll start a class, and then right here I can start a lesson. I'm going to do test lesson. Oops, I spelled that wrong. Hit start, and as soon as that happens, you'll start to notice on your student computers that things start to go away. So they only get the apps that you assign.
So please give JAMF Teacher a try. It will definitely make your life easier when students are using their iPads in your classroom. Whether you're deciding what apps show up on their iPads when they come in, or what sites they can travel to while they're working on your projects, JAMF Teacher will help you manage those iPads. But it doesn't have to be just about restricting. It could also be a facilitator for learning. Make sure to use the lessons portion of JAMF Teacher to allow you to set things ahead of time, because some kids will want to work a little bit faster and some kids will want to take their time. Finally, if we're all using some tool like JAMF Teacher, then we don't have to limit entire schools for things like AirDrop. We don't have to shut it all down. If we individually have the power to turn AirDrop on or off in our class, then we don't have to make school-wide decisions on things like AirDrop or Pandora or Spotify or any of those things. You have the control inside of your classroom. Give it a try. It's great. Thanks. You can find this tutorial and tutorials just like this on our Tech Integration website.